Shirou was having a weird day. In fact, this may be the weirdest day he has ever experienced. It all started one morning when Shirou woke up on his bed, realizing that Merlin was responsible for knocking him out yesterday. However, when he tried to get out of bed, he realized something. He was not able to get out of bed. Furthermore, the reason why he was not able to get out of bed earlier was that Arturia and her counterparts were holding on to Shirou, preventing him from leaving. It took a while for Shirou to quietly escape from Arturia and her counterparts. And right now, Shirou was walking down one of Chaldea's hallways, minding his own business. However, whenever he would pass by a few servants, they would whisper something. Is that true? Yes, it's true actually. Wow, guess there's more to Emiya Shirou than meets the eye. Wow. A servant that can fight extremely well and cook extremely well, whoever gets him will be the luckiest person alive. Indeed. His heroic tale may even surpass the King of Heroes' tale. Shirou was confused with the comments and conversations he was hearing from the other servants. What is going on today? Everyone's whispering around me and they're keeping a distance from me. Did I do something wrong here? As he continued walking, he eventually arrived at the cafeteria, where Emiya was there, cooking for the other servants. As Shirou was walking towards the kitchen, everyone that was in the cafeteria was looking at him, confusing him even further. Okay, everyone's looking at me. Just what is going on here? Soon, Shirou got to the kitchen. Need some help? He asked. Yeah. Help me with making those dishes over there, Emiya replied as he pointed to a corner of the kitchen. Got it. Shirou then headed towards the corner Emiya was pointed out earlier and started on the dishes he was talking about earlier. As the two were cooking in the cafeteria, Emiya continued the conversation. So, did anything happen today? Emiya asked. Shirou let out a small sigh. Yes. I woke up after being knocked out by Merlin for unknown reasons, and the first thing that I noticed was that Arturia and her counterparts were in my bed with me. Emiya stopped for a moment upon hearing those words from Shirou's mouth. You're kidding me. Yeah. Luckily, I managed to slip out of my room before anything drastic happened. Although now I'm wondering why Merlin knocked me out earlier. You think Merlin's the one responsible for knocking you out? Yeah. I mean, he's the only one that likes to knock me unconscious, besides Mom and Da Vinci, of course. True. Emiya said as he was done making a dish. Shirou and Emiya continued cooking. As they did, it was then that 4 certain servants came into the cafeteria with a smile on their faces. It was Siyu and his counterparts. Hey kid, they exclaimed in unison. Shirou stopped what he was doing and turned to see Siyu and his counterparts, who were coming at Shirou with a grin on their faces. Siyu? Hey kid, why didn't you tell us? Proto-Siyu asked. Shirou was confused. Tell you guys what? Isn't it obvious? You didn't tell us that you were able to kill an evil immortal interdimensional space god who was able to control the Akashic records from another universe. Caster Siyu stated proudly. Upon hearing those words, Shirou nearly dropped what he was doing while Emiya let out a sigh. Well, there goes the secret. How do you guys know that? I didn't tell anyone about that event. Who told you this? That wizard Merlin did, Siyu Alter said. Shirou mentally groaned upon hearing Merlin was the one that spilled the event on that day. Merlin, just what did you do to me after you knocked me unconscious? I swear, you'll better give me an explanation about this once I find you. Hey kid, you all right over there? Siyu asked, snapping Shirou out of his thoughts. Yeah, I'm fine. Just gathering my thoughts for a moment. Shirou then resumed to what he was doing. So, how much do you know about that event? Well, me and my counterparts know about your fight against Asa Kindowan, an evil immortal interdimensional space god who was able to control the Akashic records from another universe, Siyu replied. I see. Anything else, did Merlin tell you? Well, he did show us some of the events of the 5th Fuyuki Grail, was you, me, and your future counterpart was in. And some parts of your life as well. Anything else? Nope. Shirou let out a sigh. I see. So that's how much Merlin revealed. Yup. Anyways, why didn't you tell us that you killed an evil immortal interdimensional space god who was able to control the Akashic records from another universe? Well, it's not something you can blurt out during a casual conversation. I mean, the words, evil immortal interdimensional space god who was able to control the Akashic records from another universe, is something that isn't taken lightly. If word spread about this feat, people would come after me, and I would end up on a ceiling designation. But you can still beat them up though, Proto-Siyu said. Well, that's true. But that's not the point. The point is that I don't want to attract any attention. I don't care about the deeds that I did, and that is that. Caster Siyu let out a smirk. Spoken like a heroic spirit, huh? Seems so. Also, you might want to stay away from Shirou and her counterpart for a while, Siyu Alter said. Why? Shirou asked. Well, Siyu and his counterparts said nervously as they recalled a conversation they overheard yesterday. Yesterday, Siyu and his counterparts were walking down the hallway, minding their own business. As they did, they passed by one of Chaldea's recreational rooms and overheard a conversation from two certain servants. Scathach and her counterpart. So, Emiya Shirou was able to kill an evil immortal interdimensional space god who was able to control the Akashic records from another universe. That sounds interesting. Scathach said. I know. And the fact that he did it on his own is quite impressive, Scathach Scotty replied. Indeed. He may be a worthy successor to the Land of Shadows. Upon hearing the last sentence, Siyu and his counterparts had one thought in mind. Oh shit. The kid's screwed. Back to the present. Both Shirou and Emiya were surprised at the conversation Lancer Siyu said. Really? Scathach was thinking that I may be a worthy successor to the Land of Shadows? Yeah. Honestly, seeing you as the successor to the Land of Shadows, it freaks me and my counterparts out. How so? Because, in order to be the successor, you would have to go through her hellish training regime. Lancer Siyu said as he and his counterparts started clutching their heads in fear. Exactly. Even the moon cell doesn't have any information about Asa Kindowan, and that's saying something, Hakuno said. Speaking of which, can you train with me later? C gasped. Shirou was silent for a moment before continuing the conversation. I take it that all three of you saw the event then? Yup, the three said in unison. Figures. Shirou said. Anyways, you won't believe what Hakuno did after seeing the footage Merlin sent to her, Ritsuka said. Shirou was confused for a moment. What do you mean? Hakuno let out a sigh. It's a long story. She said as she began to recall the tale of what happened earlier. Earlier? Hey! Why am I subjected to something like this? Gilgamesh yelled in anger. Shut up, King of Heroes. This is your punishment, Hakuno replied. Punishment? For what? For trying to kill Shirou just because he was on a date with Arturia on that day. Right now, Gilgamesh was tied up in the cafeteria as he was subjected to eating a giant plate of super spicy mapo tofu. Hey! I was trying to claim what was mine. Gilgamesh argued. To you, maybe. But to me, it looked like you were jealous of Shirou and tried to kill him for a petty reason. And just for that, you deserve this. Now eat it, Hakuno said as she grabbed a spoonful of mapo tofu. But dash. Eat it, Hakuno commanded in a scary tone as she shoved a spoonful of mapo tofu into his mouth. Upon eating it, Gilgamesh was screaming as a burst of flames came from his mouth. Meanwhile, Ritsuka and Mashu looked at the scene in shock. Whoa. Back to the present. And that's what happened, Hakuno said as she was done recalling the events. Shirou was dumbfounded at what Hakuno did to Gilgamesh. For a moment, he was silent before continuing the conversation. Really, Hakuno? You actually shoved a spoonful of mapo tofu down his throat? And he screamed upon eating it? Yup. Just to teach him not to meddle into someone's date. Shirou wasn't sure to either be scared or amazed at what Hakuno did to Gilgamesh. Geez, Hakuno can be scary sometimes. Just how scary can she be to Gilgamesh? Wait, I do not want to know. Shirou, are you okay? C gasped, snapping Shirou out of his thoughts. HM? Oh, yeah. I was just in my thoughts. That is all. Anyways, has anyone of you seen Merlin? I need to have a conversation with him. About what? Well, it's something private, so there's no need for any of you to find out. I see. Anyways, see you later, Shirou. Yeah. See you later, Master, Hakuno, see. Speaking of which, see. Yes? I'll train with you later. Just let me find Merlin first. Seek's eyes lit up in excitement. Great! Thanks, Shirou. And then everyone went on their separate ways. As Shirou continued walking down the hallways he was on, the whispers and conversation between the nearby servants continued, making Shirou sigh at the situation he was in. Geez, this is going to be a while to get used to. Really? I thought you would enjoy the fame, a familiar voice said. Shirou immediately knew that voice and turned around to see Merlin, who was sitting on the window stand with a smile on his face. Merlin. Greetings, Queen Shirou. Shirou let out a sigh. I take it you were responsible for spreading news about that event? Exactly, Merlin replied with no denial. Well, I'm going to regret asking this, but why? Well, blame Master for that. You see, he wanted to know the story of how you became a heroic spirit, so me, Da Vinci, and Irisvale devised a plan to see what feats you have done in your lifetime. So, you knocked me out just so that Master can see my memories? Yes, along with your family, Arturia, Ishtar, Parvati, Astria, Mashu, and even Zelrich. Shirou was surprised for a moment. Zelrich? He was there too? Yeah. He just appeared out and invited himself in. Shirou let out a sigh. Figures. Yeah. Anyways, sorry about that. Merlin then put his hands together in a pleading state. Will you forgive me? For a moment, Shirou was silent as he didn't say anything. Then, he had his answer. Well, since no harm came towards each other and it all started because of Master's curiosity, I'll let it slide. Merlin let out a small sigh of relief. However, he won't. Merlin was confused for a moment before he felt a familiar paw hitting him in the face. Die, Merlin! Foo! In an instant, Fo kicked Merlin right in the face and started to beat him up,